Support for 100 Watts in a Wire is provided by Bioenno Power. If you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best performance lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com or contact dealers nationwide. LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. An LDG desktop tuner works automatically with nearly any station up to 1,000 watts. LDG Zero Power tuners are ideal for portable or mobile use, as they consume almost no current and can be powered by internal batteries that last up to a year. LDG tuners are backed by our 2-year fully transferable warranty and our legendary customer service, the best in the industry. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, hello and welcome and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. We know we have listeners and viewers that are across the country and the world, so it's good to be with you. My name is Christian. My call sign's Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. And if you're new, drop new in the chat. We'd like to meet you. A very friendly bunch of hams and such in there. And you know what? I got to tell you, I was not expecting this at all today. I was thinking to myself, because it must be 4 in the morning local time, on his vacation.
It's 5 right now.
Oh, it's 5. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I was up at 4, so.
There's Steve, W7UDI. For our viewers and our listeners, he is vacationing in Hawaii. He is in paradise, but has decided he was going to come. And I thought, Paul jumped in first today. And I thought, it's not traditional. Like, we connect early and we talk about everybody in the ham world badly. And we're just like, that one sucks too. And it's just a constant. No, it's not that bad. But the point is, early we connect.
Not and then good either.
No, it's just no. Like there was almost a no. But Paul connected, and I thought, wow, and I talked to him about it. I was like, I don't think we're gonna. I don't know, man. It's awfully early. But 5's a lot different than 4. But thank you anyway for coming by. How's it going?
Yeah, but it's going great. A little too much hula pie last night, so I kind of passed out on the beach. But hey, it is what it is.
It's vacation. But, your wife knew where you were.
They put ropes around me and just kind of kept the crowds away and just let them sleep it off.
Stanching him off. Too much alcohol? No pie.
No hula pie.
Too much pie. Today we're going to talk a little bit about like what your next home brew is. We'll talk about that as we go through the show a little bit. And of course, I had one of these things another day. It's been raining here, and any little bit of storm or anything like that will bring down something, a limb, whatever. And of course, 160 did it to me again. Let me play you a quick video here that I did, and I posted it up on the 100 Watts in a Wire YouTube channel. Friends at home, you can just listen along. This is a traditional type of walk and talk, and if she plays, we're in good shape. Hang in there. Let's see. Well, here we go again. Hey, friends. It's a walk and talk mandatory because I just did a check because we've had some storms come by and through, and it's always good when you're doing business in the trees. Man, it's going to be buggy. I'm going to cover up here a little bit more because I need to go deeper into the woods. And I'm checking out my antennas is a 20 meter antenna here above us. And from time to time, it's on my list to do a regular check. Effing bug. You're going to hear some curses here because bugs here in this part of Missouri are a bit intense. You guys can't see this, but I'm looking up there. It's an 80 meter double bazooka. There's also a 40 meter up here that you guys probably cannot see. Everything looks okay in this range, but I tested the SWR on, you guessed it, 160, and she's out. Something's up. Consistently 3 point something, whatever. SWR. And it's so wet and saturated here that I probably should have dressed better boots. Still on beach time, though, I guess. All right, so coming out here, we're looking specifically, 80 meters is okay. I see it already. I see, it's got bitten on my head by that son of a... I'm trying not to curse, but it's thick and heavy down here. All right, let me move. I can see it already. 160 has a leg down. Oh, guys, the bugs. So tomorrow, or today as we're watching this on the whenever, you'll see the show. You'll see a nice welt on my forehead. Lovely. But I can't let moments like this pass by. I'm going to curse. You're going to have to deal with it. And here it is. Here's that end again. And you hear me, it's not breathing hard per se. It's blowing these MFers. I'm looking for the end. You guys probably can't see it. But I am searching for the end of this. Something pulled it. And here it is. It could have been a tree. You've seen this video before. I'm trying not to curse, but if this is a quick repair, I can do it. I can't tell, though, in the line here what snapped this free, how much of it. But I can tell you I'm going to have a nice bump. Damn. Vultures are like vampires. I'm going to put you down just to let you know I came out here with some strange readings. And this is the reason why it is pulled down in a storm. And, you know, part of this has me thinking, just give up on 160. I mean, how many contacts do you make a year? And it's like, I'm torn between, I got to have it, and the challenge of it. It's just sort of a pain. If you listen closely, you'll hear them buzzing by my head. All right, before I've given up too much blood, I will I'll say 73 for now, but I'm going to go try to fix this end real quick, and hopefully it didn't make too much of a difference in the way this antenna is tuned. But 160 did me dirty again, at least the trees and these. I'm blowing mosquitoes off of me. 7-3, guys. Now, Steve, in your time, I mean, I hate mosquitoes. It's the worst part of the summer for me is the mosquitoes, and we've done quite well. And then all of a sudden, all this rain, and they can be born in like a teaspoon of water, if that even.
It doesn't take much, and they just go nuts.
Can you tell me, has there ever been a moment in your ham radio life where you just wanted to give that up? Like, not the whole hobby, but like that antenna or that thought. I mean, 160, we've been running together for a long time. Me and you. I've had more 160 problems than any other thing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had
the
a
biggest
time
antenna
where you just want to take it down, like forget about it? This is nuts.
Yeah, I've run into that before, and where it's just like, this is just not working out. I'm spending more time, keeping it up and going than it's worth. But usually I just kind of regroup and do something different. So don't give up on her. She's needy. She wants you. She needs the attention. That's the problem.
No,
she wants the attention.
It's a fickle mistress to have it. It's a curse. It's like a curse and a blessing at the same time. I mean, you can see what I'm dealing with. And it had been a lot of rain, and there is space, and I've done some clearing, and I can do it. But every time, it's just like, Well,
the only other option you have is in the summertime, just bring the antenna down and then just put it back up every fall, and come spring, take it down. So it seems you do better, making it through the winter. So we have options. Lots of options.
I'm hoping just the deadwood would all just fall down. Like come down already. Just come down one good time.
One good time and be over and done with.
It doesn't take much. Nope. And I have to say the insulators on the ends of that, they're sort of, I wish I had one to show you, but they're about this big. And they will give way. Like they hold fine. They hold the tension. But if there's any sort of pressure, they sort of pull through. And you would think that's a terrible thing. But it's not like it won't just pull through. But if it takes any sort of trauma, it sort of wants to take it from that point out, and that way you're not cut in half So I don't know if it's good or bad, but I get to the point where I'm like, you know what? And I did it with the hex beam a couple years ago. I'm like, what a pain. I'm trying to get it higher. Then it's like, this galvanized pipe is so heavy, you know, and then you're out there the whole time. Smack, 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 smack.
Yep.
So I don't know. I want to hang in there because I want to have it, you know, and I turned it on today just in spite, just to hear these guys talk about nothing, which is normally, you know, it was like they were on 1906 or yeah, it was like nothing. Yeah, you're talking about nothing. And I'm like, all the work I go through, and there's nothing even to listen to.
So the question is, because in the video it didn't show, did you get it repaired?
I did. I had to put it down. I needed two hands because it was one of these things. I have the window weights. I have to kind of take those off the rope because they won't meet together. You know, I just couldn't put the wire to the rope. I needed two hands, and I had to take off the weights. But yeah, it was easy.
Splice it. Oh, good.
I think what I need to do is add probably another 8 inches to a foot of wire, because over the each time it does take a little bit. When it does give up at the insulator, it does give up a little, and this has happened for, you know. But anyway, I got frustrated again. I'm like, and I'll check it after a storm, and I'll go through my SWR in here in the shack, and of course I wait to get to 160. It's the last spot on the switcher, and I'm like, okay, here we go, and like, 3.6. And I'll go down to a different frequency, and it'll be 3 point whatever. And I'm like, it's either a connector or an end is down. And sure enough,
it's usually an end down.
I just wanted to know that I'm in a normal place with it.
You are.
You know,
oh yeah, you are.
We got to to the IT department.
As
Hold
abnormal
on.
we are. Here comes the IT.
Here comes IT. Go ahead,
yeah,
Paul.
You're. Yeah, we all are at that place. I'm still fighting, and that quadrifilar helix for 2 meters for the satellite stuff, and I brought it with me to field day because I knew one of our club members, the one who helped set most of it up, was going to have his high end analyzer with him, network analyzer, and we put it on, and from what we can tell, based on the plans, and I built it exactly according to the plans in QST, that thing is like a perfect 1.1 to 1 or 1. It's like 1.0 to 1 at 140 megahertz. So I don't know. That's why it's not working. And it's like I built it, and we triple checked my measurements. They are exactly the way it is in the magazine. So it's like the dimensions in the magazine are for WeFax and not for 2 meters. So I'm going to have to take it all apart and shorten the tube and shorten all 4 elements and try to get it resonant up in a 146. So we'll see.
Does it sound like his situation may be like what's around the antenna that's affecting it so much, do you think?
No, I mean, it's just, you can check it again at home there, and
well, we had it out in the open.
And the open, so you had an analyst.
Yeah.
So it sounds like either the dimensions got transcribed, or just the wrong dimensions got in there, and it's just it is what it is, and unfortunately,
it's like, oh man, it's like, so I got to shorten everything up and try it again. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
You should be able to do that fairly simply. I mean, they're just half-wave elements, so you can. And typically, your driven elements, going to be your
it's a combination it's a combination of the 2 spiral elements and the 2 crossbars. So I just got to take like an inch or so off of whatever, and then try it all again and see what happens. So I'm about to just say on satellites and just forget it.
No. Keep at it. So basically, I would say take maybe a 1/4 inch and see. Take a little bit and then see what it does, and then it should start moving up in frequency. And then once you kind of got it, because you got all those elements that are going to interact with each other. So I'm thinking if you just kind of go a 1/4 inch at a time, and and then it should kind of start to fall into place.
Yeah, trim a piece off each one and re-drill the holes and then measure it again, and then
So
See, what happens when these guys that have got 40 years plus in the game, my mind just turns to this. It's just... No comprende. I have no idea. Like, take it out an inch, put it in an inch, pull it out a little bit. I'm so confused and conflicted about it all. Oh, Lord.
Well, Christian, this is
Yes,
how it
sir.
is. If an antenna resonates too low, that means that it's too long for the frequency you want to use it on.
Never
there's your
heard.
lesson
Never
for
heard.
today.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm just trying to turn it into sick innuendo, but
oh yeah, no, it's perfect.
yeah, that's where my mind goes. It's just like I
we-
turn into the worst porn movie in the city.
We went through all the sick innuendo earlier in the green room, so no,
Put it in,
take it out,
move it around. Like, okay, yeah, I got a lot of problems.
shake it all about.
Got a lot of problems. Steve-O, let's take a look at, I'm getting to the point now where I'm even with 160 giving me such a hard time, and I start thinking about, what else would you do? So what else would you do in that spot? And it would still be tricky, whatever I put up there, because it's wire. It's more about the location than, whatever, and then all the real estate that you need for 160. So
Yeah,
I asked our community on Facebook. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh yeah, that's the advantage you have, and a lot of people are envious of you for having all that real estate to put up a full size.
I know I sound like I'm complaining. I know I'm.
You are, but
It's
it's
too
okay.
much. But it's just that it shows you, even though you have some space to do it, this is how I have to do it with the space that I have, and it's tricky. It's frustrating. That's all. So just kind of seeing what people were thinking about, in terms of what their answers were. I put this post up to see what other people were thinking about. 80 meter NVIS for our listeners at home. We'll read off some of these answers to you. And Steve, if anything sparks, like, what I've been thinking about is, and we'll go to the people for sure, but you and I talked about building a ZEP antenna. We're thinking about maybe building a ZEP. And I think maybe that made an appearance here. But here's what you guys are saying. Chris says 40-meter N-Fed. Here we have that N-Fed again, which we talked about a few shows back about being a really popular now type of antenna, whether it's the portable operations that are getting people really inspired to take them out. You can put these in your glove box. So there's a 40-meter N-Fed there. What is a 6-meter Squallow? What's that? Do you know what that is?
It's a 6-meter loop. I think it's the just a horizontal loop.
I see.
Squallow. I mean, I haven't heard it in that term, but the Delta loop, nice, very nice. I've thought about doing a Delta loop just to try it out, but I haven't gotten around to that. The Moxon, that's cool. And speaking about the NFEDs, Don is experimenting with having two of them. From his I think third story window or somewhere up on the upper floors from the house, and then having them go out in different angles, and then switching between the two. And we kind of was talking about a little bit on Discord. So if any of you haven't joined us in the Discord group, come and join us in the 100 watts in a wire Discord group. But we, I kind of was thinking, if you kind of got it at at least a 45-degree angle, try to reduce some of the interaction between the two NFEDs. But not kind of an interesting experiment that he's doing. And on the higher bands, you radiate off at a 45-degree angle off your NFED wires. So having a couple of them in there and switching between the two kind of gives you, switch between the two until you get the best signal that you're hearing the station, and hopefully it will work in the transmit direction. So, the NFED's wires are just super popular right now.
We're going to come back and take a look at more of these. We're going to get to our news in just a little bit. There's a big plaque ceremony going on here. It's a plaque event with Parks on the Air. Here's a member of our community to tell us about it.
Hi, you've got Vance here. November 3, Victor Echo Mike, 100 Watson and wire ID 1138. I'm actually just putting the finishing touches on a little QRP BidX project that I've been working on for a while because there's a big event coming up for Parks on the Air that I want to make sure I share with everybody. All right, we've actually got a whole bunch of parks on the air right now. So before we talk about the plaque event, let's maybe jump in and show you how easy this can be.
CQ for Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Delta 9, Oscar Lima Bravo, calling CQ.
November 3, Victor Echo Mike.
November 3, Victor Echo Mike, QSL.
QSL, this is November 3, Victor Echo Mike. You good 5-7 here in Central PA.
Thanks so much for the 5-7 into Central Pennsylvania. You are about a 5-8 into Park Kilo 1267.
Okay, thank you for the 5-8. July 17th and 18th during our Support Your Parks event, we will likely have hundreds of folks on the air. Last year's event, we had 100 and some odd operators. There was 20,000 contacts made to a couple hundred different parks. We had participation from several different countries. So we've got parks in the U.S., we've got parks in the U.K., there's parks in Japan, all over the world. So we hope to see as many people participating that weekend as we can. And in addition to just having a lot of fun, there's some cool stuff up for grabs. So let me show you here the website before I sign off. If you go to parksontheair.com and check out our dashboard and go to our activity and annual plaque event, you'll be able to see the list of parks that are up for grabs, the categories. There's, most contacts for activators and hunters. There's the same things by modes, so CW, voice, digital. We have a Rover Award, so if you're going to chase down KN4 MQR, who was last year's winner of that event, he managed to do, I think it was 52 parks in one weekend. So that's kind of the bar that has been set if you want to go for that one. And if you have a club, if there's a group of you that want to get out there, we do have a club plaque that's getting sponsored by N9UNX. So we really encourage everybody to participate. And I hope to hear you on the air July 17th and 18th, chasing down some of these plaques or just getting out and having fun like me with some of your gear. 73.
From wireless to Wi-Fi, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
If you're looking for a new way to become involved with the 100 Watts and a Wire community, visit 100wattsandawire.com and click the EMI tab. EMI is short for Emergency Information. You can join the Emergency Information team and help us gather news, information, and resources during live emergency situations. Now, during live streams, a show producer may contact you or other members of the team to offer perspective, personal experience in emergency communications, and first-hand reports. If you're into preparedness, weather events, disaster response, consider joining this team. Visit 100wattsandawire.com, click the EMI Team tab, and we'll get you on the list. 7-3 and back to the show.
In a land where we're all 20 over, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Program where I bring in my friends from Amateur Radio Newsline. We get together and we discuss two stories. And you may find one that you did hear from today or this week, and maybe one that you did not. Uh-oh. You're not supposed to be in here.
Wow.
What is he doing here? Karen, no. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I thought she took her wig off. Sorry. Sometimes we have problems. Oh, now she's yelling at me, but I'll keep her on mute until the end. This is bizarre. Until she stops. I think you've muted yourself, dear. I'll sit here and awkwardly talk to Paul, but I think that you've muted yourself on your end there. No? Well, how could that be?
Alrighty then.
I cannot unmute this lady. You muted the guest, and then I'm trying to unmute her. We may have to start with you, Paulie. I don't know what's going on here today, But I'm saying that I got nothing. Well, let's have her. She'll call back in here. We'll get her back in. Let's start with your story, shall we? And is there anything more that you'd like to do in home brewing situations, Paul? Is there anything else that you're kind of tinkering with?
Well, as far as antennas, not really. I mean, because I live in a condo, so I'm really limited to like the verticals I got in my courtyard and the one that's out back. And I would love to be able to throw up wire for 80 and 160, but that's just not possible. So I'm kind of at the point where I've pushed the limits to what the neighbors will not complain about, so I can't really go any further with antennas. So I am going to build a switching matrix, though. So I've been collecting antenna switches so that I can have the 2 HF antennas switchable between 3 radios and a dummy load. So that's kind of the next big project. But other than that, I've got all the radios I need for right now. I know. We don't ever say that, but I am limited to what I can do here in the condo. So,
understood. Karen's here. Karen, we talked about home brewing. I know that you hinted at me in the Discord that you may be potentially settling on a portable. Does that mean you would build an antenna for it? Maybe a home brew situation? Any thoughts in mind with that topic?
Am I unmuted?
Yeah. I can hear you fine
now.
Good. We fixed
cool.
it.
Okay.
That's me and you.
Yay, we fixed. I don't know how we fixed it. This would not be a home brew. I'm short on time and probably patience with myself. My problem with home brew is once I make a mistake, it goes in the garbage, which is not the ham radio way. I get frustrated pretty easily. So I will probably go with something super simple, which I can set up even if I'm operating on my own in an outdoor situation, and that would be likely, nobody laugh please, a buddy pole. That's probably what I'll go with.
Oh, that's a great
probably
antenna.
The smartest. It's multi-band. It'll get me on the air. Then I'll first look for a rig. I have a little 1 watt Soft Rock RX TX that I could use just for starters, but I'm looking for something a little more robust for down the line.
Yeah.
But it'll be good. I will be outdoors this year at long last after waiting too many years to make it happen.
I know you wanted to do it.
Happy about that. Mm-hmm. Yep, happy about that. Glad that's finally going to be a reality.
Well, this is the portion of a program where we gather 2 stories, and my friends from Amateur Radio Newsline come together with me. We sort things out. We go through a story that is usually sort of top deck, top tier, or in your A category if you're doing some news gathering and that sort of deal. And then a story you may not have heard or didn't get to hear about this week. Karen, let's start with you. What did you find this week that we need to talk about?
We need to talk about the fact that Morse code is here to stay. Despite rumors of its premature death, Morse code is still happening, and it's happening at a very slow speed. This is an event for people like me. This is the first anniversary of the slow Morse code
I see what you're doing
club.
here.
Yes, little sound effect here. It begins today. They're celebrating, and they will be on the air through the 25th. They gathered about a year ago on Facebook. There are 2,000 members around the world, even though this group is really based in Europe, more or less. Anybody can join. And they are doing code right up through the 25th to mark the anniversary. There's a commemorative card. Believe it or not, for whatever reason, I didn't get a chance to ask anybody. The TM1 SMC operator will be doing some sideband, which seems a little counterintuitive, but maybe they're trying to hook some sideband folks into studying CW, trying to be a little bit inclusive, which I think is very, very cool. There are apparently 4 operators who are doing this. With a little luck, maybe I can hop across the pond with my 100 watts and get in the game in the granny lane and get myself one of those nice QSL cards. So that is a nice thing. There are, of course, Morse code clubs everywhere. We know that. But this I particularly felt was newsworthy because it welcomes the folks who are late to the party and are learning and are really, really slow.
Well, bless their hearts for having patience with the folks that are just starting out. I mean, it's really important. And I think in this community, you find that more. I've heard a lot of people say, you know, I'll work you. We'll just go down and find a frequency and kind of work at your own pace. I've talked about on the show, and I know you've studied the code. I studied it, got 13 letters in, and I had been studying it the wrong way, and I need to kind of go back. I had this vision, Karen, that I would learn the code as my children learn the alphabet. Now, little did I know that children learn the alphabet real fast. So I ended up getting 13 letters in. I knew how to send and didn't know how to copy. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, dummy, you've done it the wrong way. And since then, life has kind of gotten in the way, and I put it down. But I really do. I'm kind of fascinated by the code, and it's something I want to do. It's just I'm not quite there. How did you get over the hurdle?
Okay, first of all, you can do this. You will do this. I have absolute faith. Well, I changed strategies. First thing I did, the Long Island CW Club has great classes, and I took a lot of classes with them. And of course, I did what a lot of people do. I used the trainers, the automatic code generators. I listened to the ARRL code, all of that. And that was fine. These are random letters and numbers that you pick up and you learn to copy, but it didn't get me on the air. So that's when I switched gears. Now I'm doing K1 USN. I'm doing the Sunday night event. I feel like it's okay to learn how to copy computer-generated code, but that's not having a conversation. That's perfect code. Nobody, except maybe 3 people on the planet, probably ex-military, can send perfect code. I want to talk to real people, and they will slow down. The right ones will slow down and have patience. And so now my new strategy is simply to copy real people and learn from real people and learn about spacing and the duration of the dits and the das. And that's really helping me more in copying than working with computer-generated trainers. So I have faith. I may not ever get super fast, but I don't talk fast, so why should I send code fast? I mean, it's not a race. It's fun.
Right.
So I'll hang in there. I think you'll do fine. We'll be doing 100 watts in a wire CW challenge in a year.
Can't wait to retune all of my
Commit
antennas.
to that.
Paul, what do you think?
That's great. I mean, back when I got licensed, which was 1977, code was still a requirement, and I learned and passed the novice code, which, if I remember correctly, was 5 words a minute. But then I really studied because for my general, I had to do 13. When I went to the FCC field office for the test, I actually passed the 21 word a minute extra code. I just wasn't ready for the theory, but that at one point in time I could do that. And as you mentioned, when you're younger, that stuff comes much easier to you. But I mean, I can remember most of it to send and some to receive, and it actually came in handy during the 13 colonies thing, because I was struggling like everybody else to get the TM13, the French station. And it seemed to me like on the spotting site, he was down in the CW portion like 90% of the time, and it's like, well, that's never going to help me. And finally, I just said, you know what? Let's try it. So I found him down there, and it signaled, and I cheated. I used the software to decode because my brain isn't there yet to listen. But he finally came up high enough above the noise where, the software would pick him up and started decoding. And I saw him, and he called QRZ. So I grabbed the paddle. I've always had a paddle hooked up to my my radio. It's my original Brown Brothers BTLA, for those of you who know old paddles. And I reached over and I grabbed it, and I dropped my call in, and I watched on the screen, and he came back to me. I'm like, oh, crap. So I remember enough to come back with my call and send 5NN, and then he came back and he said 5NN and then TU, which is thank you. And I'm like, oh my God, I just got it. And I got it using CW, kind of. Yes. So it's like, well, and I've noticed a lot of those stations during that contest were spending a lot of time down on CW. So it's like, I guess I need to try to wake my tired old brain up and try to remember how to do that better. Because the software, it's cool, but it doesn't work a lot unless you've got a real strong signal, because it's not like, FT7 or FT8 or FT4 where it can pick the CW way out of the noise. I mean, if it's not a clear, strong signal, it doesn't do it. So that's where your brain has got to come in, and you got to mentally filter out the noise. So,
Karen, he gets credit for just trying, right?
We always give him credit for trying. He has a lot of participation trophies.
I'm very trying.
You're the last winner, Paul. Just kidding.
He showed up.
I mean,
hey, he shows up.
No, I think for real though, on the serious tip, I think he gets credit for actually for taking the chance and making it happen, trying to make it happen. It's very intimidating.
Honestly, it's more than I did. I was in the 13 colonies, and I did listen, because in the final half hour there were moments of nail-biting desperation for me. There was language you might have heard in the woods by your antennas, because I was trying to get these stations, and I went down to CW, and I was intimidated. So I don't get the participation trophy. I think it's very cool when you just jump in with both feet and you say, so what? They can't see my face. If I can't get it, they're not going to know how humiliated I am. I'll at least try.
I was just, it's like, this is not a great CW contact, but I heard enough, and the screen verified what I was hearing. That's like he came back with my call and my signal, and I'm like, all right, that's it. Let me send it back and see if he hears me. And it's like, okay, that's the first time in 35 years that I've used CW. So, there's some rust to remove. I mean, I can still send reasonably well, but there's characters I don't remember off the top of my head. So,
all right, let's. Go ahead. Did you have something, Karen?
I was going to say, I found the biggest and most useful character to send is the question mark. I'm very good at sending that. If you don't understand it, just send it. And then QRS and the question, people can be very, very patient. If they are not going to be patient, you don't want them in your log.
Got it.
That's all.
Wise words. Paul, story number 2. We've got an interesting story about an event that just wrapped up, and tell us more.
Story number 2, funny you mentioned wrapped up, is the Youth on the Air Region 2 Yoda Camp, which just was supposed to happen last year, and because of COVID didn't, and they just wrapped it up. Neil Rapp, our own WB9VPG, was one of the main coordinators of the event. I'm wearing my it's weird when I stare at the screen and everything's backwards. I'm wearing my VOA shirt because a big part of it was held at the VOA Museum in just outside of Cincinnati, which we, the Newsline crew, have been to several times during Xenia weekend. And it was an amazing thing. I mean, the whole, they didn't want it to be an event run by adults to just teach the kids, because that's not the way to get the kids involved and engaged. The way to do it is you have the adults there to supervise and kind of guide things, but the kids set up the programs. The kids ran the programs. They did all the lecturing, and everything was by the kids and for the kids. And it was very successful. I watched on YouTube, they streamed, they had a contact with the ISS that had been scheduled ahead of time. Now, it wasn't done directly from the station there at the VOA Museum. It was relayed through, I think, somebody in New Zealand. But that's pretty common for ISS contacts for schools and groups like that. So, but yeah, they asked their questions and they got the answers back from the astronaut they were speaking to. They launched a balloon that reached over 100,000 feet, I believe, and they tracked it with APRS. So they did a lot of things. They had kit building and contesting and operating and talks about various subjects, and they had a great time. And it was it's encouraging to see that many young people that involved and that engaged in the hobby. I mean, it's part of, with Newsline, part of our deal is a Young Ham of the Year award, and so we're very much behind all of that. And it was really great to see all these. I don't want to call them kids because some of them are like 18, and so I mean, it was great to see all these young people out there really involved in ham radio and actually doing stuff.
And I believe photo credit belongs to Sterling, November 0 Sierra Charlie, and just excellent. Look at these young minds at it, working, taking care of business there. And so Sterling, I think this one right here is this is my favorite. Going through your photographs, you just see the fellas there working, and of course the image where they're outside. Young minds at work there, having fun.
Working satellites.
Yeah,
that photo of them at a counter with all the radios, that's at the club station at the VOA Museum, which I've had the fun of operating there a couple of times. The first time we went there to
what are you laughing at? Karen is laughing.
We'll get there.
Hear it.
The first time we went there was the first time. It was back in the first time in Xenia, and the first time actually a group of us had ever gotten together in person. And we were invited to come to the museum after Hamvention shut down, and we went there and we toured the museum and the Crosley collection and all the Drake collection, and then we were invited to operate on the VOA club station. And so I was on there and I was chugging away and I was working, and Karen was over on another radio. She was chugging away and working. I worked her brother instead of her. So that has become a point of contention between us ever since.
I think the verb is stole my QSO.
It's not like I was calling CQ for Karen's brother. It's not like I was calling CQ Karen's brother. He called me, so I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah, they're smiling, but seriously, it looks like there's a little bit of contention here. I should probably move on because this is not the place for your arguments to be
It's
settled.
good that you're in between.
Right. Yes, you stay over there and you over here. But what a good time for the kids. And post-COVID, I know this took a lot to get off the ground, and the logistics alone is a story that may not ever come out, but maybe it will come out. It takes a lot to get something like this off the ground, and then a pandemic hits, and then you're all on the ground again. So a lot of energy, and congratulations to the team that put that together and the kids for participating.
It was, I mean, it was a long time in the planning, and Neil was going through a lot of it with us, telling us what's all involved, because it's bringing in kids from all over the country and making sure that everything is clean and safe, and making sure that the kids are chaperoned and they're okay. Yeah. And then they all went to Kings Island Amusement Park when it was over, just to relax and have some fun there too. So it was a great week for them. I mean, it was a lot of radio and a lot of kids figuring things out on their own for themselves, which is awesome.
All right, well, thank you for that. If you have any comments about that program, or anything we've talked about today, please leave your comments below, and the links and all that sort of stuff are down there for you. My thanks to Karen Eve Murray and Paul Brown, my brothers and sister from Amateur Radio Newsline. We'll do it again next week, y'all.
We will.
7-3.
7-3.
There are many ways to support the content you enjoy, and here is another. Visit 100wattsandaWire.com and click the Shop tab. Here you can find all the latest designs, from the classic 100 Watts and a Wire logo all the way till today. Men's, women, kids, and babies, we don't sell any of those. But we have apparel, gear, accessories, wall art, and cases. Visit 100wattsandaWire.com, click Shop, and support the content you enjoy. And thanks. With you again, and it's time to bring in my brother Don, who's been waiting patiently because he too is on vacation. Can you believe everybody? Well, it's just one of those months where everybody gets to take some time off and do some stuff. How you doing, Don?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
Hanging in there. I'm glad to see you're at the beach. We just missed each other. We're just probably, maybe a week and a half apart there. I was visiting Mom, and not too long ago in Lewis, Delaware. You anywhere close to that?
I'm about 10 miles away, so we're in between Lewis and Rehoboth, a little bit inland. No complaints from me today.
Yeah, it's one of those states so small. You just go 10 miles and you're in another really cool spot. I enjoy that, especially in July, 4th of July, first town, kind of first state, that sort of stuff. Hour 73 is a feature that we do where we try to help everyday people become more self-sufficient, self-reliant. And Don, there's a lot going on. We've been sharing a lot of stories in the Discord channel, which is new, or server. I don't even know what to call it. It's so new. But friends are gathering there, and it all started as sort of a repository for people who are interested in emergency operations, disaster relief, that sort of thing. And the stories coming out this past week, I mean, we've got fire, we've got floods, we've got heat, we've got the floods in Europe. The first time in half a century they've had anything like that there. And we thought we'd talk a little bit about evacuations and how that sort of works. And I think as things roll out a little bit, there's a narrative developing now about the communication between, say, the authorities and, say, meteorologists to the people of maybe when to get out, when to move. What's your understanding? And I know it may vary depending on where you are, but say in the States here, as a emergency sort of an official in your capacity professionally, how does evacuations work in your understanding?
It's a hot mess, if you must know. So there's a lot of factors. For one, it depends where you are. In certain places, depending on local and state laws, your officials can't order an evacuation. In some places they can. But I think what this ultimately boils down to is, what are you evacuating from? So when you look at something like a hurricane, you generally have 48, 72 hours, if not a little bit more, notice that, hey, this thing's bearing down on you. It might be time to go. Knock on wood, where I am, we don't really worry about this too much. But one of my biggest fears is looking at the folks that are in wildfire country, especially if you look at some of the areas where they have the rolling brownouts, the rolling blackouts, or they have the fires that are started from the power lines. So you're at your cabin or you're in your home in the woods and a fire starts overnight and the power's out, because that's a thing on the West Coast. So how are you receiving those alerts? How are you receiving that notification? And not only that, like, how in the heck are you getting out? In some of those places, we love to build as a society in places that are typically tough for first responders to get to. So we're building on the waterfronts. We're building on the edges of cliffs. We're up the mountain. Some of those folks might only have one or two ways out. And if you're not getting the timely notification, how do you get out? So the ones that are coming, a little bit easier, right? You know it's coming. You have no excuse to get away. But those ones that happen just like that, sometimes you're along for the ride.
normal citizen, who are you waiting to get the call from? Local television? Is it media? Is it somebody at your door, which seems to be awful late in the game if someone's banging on your door? Who are you waiting to get the word from?
Yeah, so not that I don't have faith in our local institutions, but I'm going to be a good student. I am going to pay attention to what's going on. And we talked about this in one of the initial podcasts last year or 2 years ago, whenever it seems like, sometimes it seems like yesterday, sometimes it seems like a decade ago. I'm going to know what my hazards and threats are around my house. So, where I am in Maryland, I'm not too worried about a hurricane. Is it conceivable that one can make it that far up the Chesapeake? Sure. But where I am, I'm at elevation. I might see some localized surface flooding, but I'm not going to be cut off from the rest of society. But if I'm somewhere in the southeast or any of the Gulf states, I am certainly going to pay attention to what the weather's doing in the Atlantic. If I am in the Midwest, out to the plains, and even West Coast, dealing with the wildfires, I am going to look at what's the weather been like, what sort of droughts are we in, what sort of storms are we predicting, and I might be nose in the news a little bit faster. So if I see something brewing, and I know my topography, I know my terrain, and I know that if whatever this is, gets bad, I might have a limited time to get out. So maybe I'm making that decision a little bit quicker than my local authorities are going to make for me. And sometimes you have to be that student. You have to take a look at what's happening so you can make the decision that's best for you and your family to get the heck out of there.
Unfortunately, that's probably not. I mean, this is part of the reason we're doing this, is so everyday people can kind of get some practical solutions to these sort of problems. Most people aren't thinking that way, and they're depending on this information. And I guess that gets back to your mess situation. I read something interesting recently about evacuations, and I'm sure you could, and it was meant for people like me and for others who may be listening or watching, to think about like these 5 Ps, almost a what to take or what to think about in times of evacuation. Please add to these lists or comment as you go, but the 5 Ps, and it was simple, and that might be elementary for people like me, but to think about people, pets, paper, pills was one of them, photographs, which is a big one for my mother, who would not budge as Sandy was blazing past, and she got lucky. That's a whole other story. And you might want to add computer or pewter just to fit the P situation there. Any comments on any of those items that I mentioned for people to think about in times of evacuation or prepping for?
I was throwing in P for pizza if that list was going to keep going. Yeah, I mean, look, so if you are leaving your home, especially in time of disaster, and there's a chance that you're coming back to significant damage or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just leaving and then having to come back, your basics. So when you talk about papers, like copies of deeds, mortgages, copies of credit cards, just in case, birth certificates. So if that stuff sits in a safe that you keep at home, some people will argue that they like to take the originals. Do what works for you, but any critical piece of information that you need a copy of, I would take. The pets. So everyone, it's fairly easy for us to say, okay, there's a chance I'm going to be out of the house for a couple of days. How much water, how much food do I need for the kids, for mom and dad? But what about my pets' needs? Like how much water, how much food? How do I account for shoving that in the car as well? So if you're getting packed up and out, and whether it's something about having bags ready to go, bins ready to go, making sure that you can account for all of your family. So that P for pet is just as important to the people for most of us that have the pets. And then, you mentioned it when you talked about prescriptions or pills. So we'd like to think that we're leaving for the short term, but you don't get to predict what Mother Nature does behind you. So if you're going to be out for longer than, say, 2 or 3 days, like what are those contingencies? How am I making sure that I have what I need to survive in the short term when going back to the house might not be an option? So, I think on a basic level, I'm taking enough clothing to get me through a couple days. I'm taking some food and water. Obviously, you reach a point of diminishing returns where you just can't pack the family cruiser any more full of stuff. but meeting those basic needs and then having a plan to meet the needs thereafter. One big one that sometimes gets left out is cash. And I'm guilty of this. I will raise my hand and say I'm as guilty as they come with this. I'm reliant upon the fact that I can whip out an ATM card and pull out money or pay with a debit card. Whereas if you're looking at something that might be regionally catastrophic and networks go down, how are you paying for goods if you can't access that network that your bank card or your Visa rely upon? So, I mean, there's more, and I think you ultimately know what your family's needs are. You know what makes you comfortable and what makes you uncomfortable. So, addressing to those needs is what's important. And Joe said it, talking about the bins packed and ready will give you hours of head start, and I think that's a great point. That's how we get ahead of it.
Another prep question. I'll let you go enjoy your son and your vacation there in Delaware. Let's talk about the importance of alternative routes out. We think about our family. You may have schools, assisted living, childcare. Can you speak to learning another way out?
Yeah, so I think that's absolutely critical, and it's a great point. And again, for a circumstance like a hurricane coming, you have some time, and I think time on the road ahead of everyone else is always going to be your biggest benefit, regardless of the disaster. But in something or in a circumstance where everyone's going to evacuate at the same time, right? So you're going to be on the road with everyone else that's evacuating. And this happened, I want to say a couple years ago in Houston, where folks waited. They got onto the road and they got stuck. And I think Houston had a few flood victims in vehicles where they were stuck evacuating. They couldn't get out. They're stuck in their car on the road. So for one, there's prescribed routes that your jurisdiction's going to give you. They're going to say, hey, if we need to get out, you're going this way to this route and going northbound or westbound or whatever. But knowing how to wiggle, knowing those other routes that you can take where you face a gridlock situation, or you can hear on the radio that that evacuation route's moving slowly. Okay, how do I wiggle around it? How do I get somewhere else where I can get to another set of roads or the open road? And maybe I'm not tracking exactly in the same direction as everyone else, but I'm not tracking into the threat, but I'm also getting away from the threat. And again, for a hurricane, I think that tends to be a little bit easier. But remember, for some of the impacts, if you're looking at a huge regional impact, you might not be just facing your neighborhood, right? You might not be just facing your county. You might be evacuating with several states, numerous counties, dozens of large jurisdictions. But again, I'll go back. It's those one-off ones, that chemical plant fire or that wildfire in the middle of the night, that scare the hell out of me, because you're basically no notice, and you don't know what routes are available and aren't available to you. And we've all seen the videos of people basically going balls out down a street where it's on fire left and right, and the embers are blowing across the road, just hoping that they get to go and be able to get out of there. So, but again, like everything else, pre-planning, knowing where you are, where you can get, knowing what you need, all of that stuff in advance is what gets you to A and B, where you're not sweating it out or panicking out in the time of disaster.
Well, thank you for that very much. And over time, I want to talk to you about a first responder and how you have to think. You're helping us prepare our day-to-day life, but when an emergency hits, your situation's actually completely different. And you're dealing with all of this stuff, how we plan or don't plan, and you're still hanging out. So we'll talk about that over time. I want to invite anybody who's into preparedness, emergency response, and planning, all these things. Check out this new Discord that we've set up. There's a lot of information going on there if you're into that sort of thing. But my thanks to Don for stopping by on his day off. Enjoy your family time. If you guys have any comments on this segment of Hour 73, please leave them below. Any questions you want to ask, and we'll bring them back to Don again next time. 73, my brother, get some good shells. When they bring them up on the shore there. City kids, we find out these things. Oh, the sea gives these to us, huh? Have fun out there.
Yeah, I brought my little pail and shovel. 73, my friend.
That's great.
I'll see you
That's
later.
great. Take care. 7-3. My thanks to Don. All right, everybody. It's Christian, K0STH, and gotta bring back my brother. These guys are just hanging out on the beach today. Look at this. Here he is. He's not quite on the beach.
Yep.
There he is. Thanks for hanging out. He's probably like,
No,
geez, I got up this early, and these dummies keep me on hold. I hope the view is good. I hope the view. What's happening?
Well, here, let me give you a little bit of the view. So,
All right. Oh, geez.
It's going to be a cloudy day today. So, unfortunately, there's that Hurricane Felicia, I think, is coming up from Mexico. But other than that, that's, we might get a little bit of rain today. But hey, it's okay. It's warm rain. So
beautiful, man. It is beautiful.
That's,
You are
that's
right.
what it is.
I'm going to need all that information. My wife is talking about it. I want to go here, want to do that. She wants to be in the beach.
Oh, yeah. No, this is, well, here, let me do one other thing. And
Okay.
this is how close we are to the beach. So this is basically, you just walk right on out, and then the sand's right there.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah,
Paradise.
this is why we come to Lahaina. And if you want to come to Lahaina, sorry for just looking at my T-shirt here.
That's okay.
So, yeah, if you want more information, just get a hold of me, and I'll turn you on to this place and give you all the details.
For sure.
So,
hey, I want to give you ample time to comment before we get into questions and things. We talked about some heavy stuff. We talked about some good information on the news. We've talked about some cool things, the CW stuff. If you want to comment on that, we had the Yoda.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we also had. Go ahead. I'll let you comment on anything you heard while you were waiting.
Oh no, the CW, that's great. And Karen was so right. A lot of seasoned CW operators, they will slow down for you, and they will get to your speed and work with you. They're just so just go ahead and go out there, bang it out, and just work at it. And you might run into a few that they don't want to spend the time with you, but hey, that's okay. There's a lot of other people that are out there that would be more than willing to help you out on and slowing down and help you get your speed up, because CW is, even though it's not a requirement, and like Paul and I, when we got our tickets, we've had to go down and demonstrate and in front of an FCC examiner our CW competency. With the Yoda, that was great. I'm glad they finally got it off. I know last year they tried to do it, and that was fantastic. Kids teaching other kids, that's just great, because they learn that way, and us adults, we just need to stand back, give them a little bit of guidance, and let them do their thing and find their way.
How inspiring is this shot here, Steve? I just love it. Whoever took this, the credit is a little unknown. They had a few photographers there, and I know at least two of them. How cool is this shot right here? The intensity, the
great.
attention.
Yeah, the intense. That I like you. I really like that particular shot. It just shows the what our hobby is about, and these young guys in there, and just going at it and concentrating, and it's almost game-like, but it is cool. It is so cool. And I like the other shots too, where they were kit building, and then the antenna out there as a group of young folks. So this one's great, and so it's fantastic.
We also talked with Don about an important topic, and we've added this feature in. The Hour 73, we're told to prepare for the first 72, and we're looking to get beyond the first 72. Evacuations, I know you're familiar with your firefighter work. The heat has been crazy as a mother where you are from and where you live. And they've also had a heat emergency. Talk a little bit about your understanding of evacuations.
Well, for us, in my region, we have 3 levels. We have level 1, 2, and 3, where typically, if you have notice that you're going to get a level 1 is saying, hey, you need to start thinking about it, and start getting ready. Get your mind ready to go to be evacuated. Level 2 brings it up to another step. Get ready. You're going to be leaving here shortly. Level 3 is like you're getting out now, and So the last couple of sizable fires we've had that I've been involved with, we went straight to level 3, and it just becomes a mess. And in the rural area where I'm at, we have limited roadways. And then the other problem that comes in is we have friends of people that are getting evacuated start coming in with horse trailers, because a lot of these folks have horses, and they're trying to evacuate the horses along with other large animals. So that just compounds the roadway. And for us, as we're trying to hopscotch and trying to get ahead, and we have to look out for ourselves too. One fire, we got chased out. It just the nature of the beast. The wind shifted and hit some old growth sagebrush, and the intensity just tenfold. And it was basically cut and run, and get out, redeploy, and re-engage in the fight. So evacuations are pretty tough, and basically, you can be ordered to go, but you don't have to go. We can't force you to go. It's up to you. And some people stay back, and we have the problem. If you really want to see, Don brought up about evacuation routes, and one of the things that was brought up in the Paradise fire was they were up in the mountains, so they had very limited evacuation routes. The other problem that it was identified years earlier was that the roadways needed to be widened, needed more capacity, and basically the county didn't have the resources to expand the roadways. And then when Paradise hit, and as fast as it came on, and a lot of people just kind of really didn't heed the early warnings, then it was right at the last minute, and then they were just trying to get out. And you see the stories. So it's a tough one. So everyone has to make their decision on when to evacuate and go from there.
And as amateur radio operators, we know that communications play a large part of your preparedness. So that's why Hour 73 is here with 100 watts and a wire. Going back to look at some of the homebrew options, just to see what's kind of trending along our friends here in our community, what they're going to consider. Kevin Trotman, he says, "Come help me hang my G5 RV. It's fallen. There's beer and jalapeno poppers." Hey, I'm on my way. Jalapeno poppers and beer. That sounds like a digestive tract issue there. Let's see.
Nice.
Doug's got a 2-meter transverter he's doing. Let's see. Walter ground wave 2-meter, 70 centimeters. David's brewing
Jason,
the coffee.
The frosty one.
There you go. A frosty one and an end-fed antenna. 6 meters some sort there. Let's see. Ian, our net control operator, is K2. We'll get the basement cleaned out and rebuilt. He'll get his workbench sorted out. He's going to do a 160-meter antenna that he's working on. If it's got legs like mine, just know it comes at a cost, a frustrating cost sometimes.
Nice, John, on the 3-element triangular vertical phased array. That's gonna be awesome. And Tom, double IPA, you're the man. So
Willis got an inverted L, performs quite well. Missing a big loop, plenty of wire. Good. He's got 8 acres there to work with, so that's excellent.
Perfect.
Another Moxon has come up. I can't say I'm too familiar with that antenna, but I will check out Michael's antennas there. KB9 VBR apparently has something. What's a deer chaser? Is that a joke? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that. Maybe it's a low wire or something like that. I have deer run through my ropes, but I could be completely off. Could just be a joke. What's Matt up here? A multi-element collinear? Okay,
collinear for array for 6 meters.
Interesting.
So, that's an interesting one. So
there you go. Brandon homemade M103 clone into a VQ3 clone. I have no idea what that is. These guys are talking like a different language. I got to check this out. Radials to a vertical. Uncle Paul says
homebrew double bazooka.
Got to get that up. It sounds like he needs us to come over there and help him put that up. I love the double bazooka, and you know who makes a really good one? That guy sitting there overlooking the ocean. Boy, oh boy.
I had a new twist that I've been thinking about on the double bazooka.
Ooh, do tell.
This has been going. I've been thinking about it for the last month or two, and it was like I was going to build it and then pop it on you. But now that you brought up this subject, when I saw that a couple days ago, what the subject was going to be. Oh, geez. How about a fan double bazooka?
Oh, a fan? You mean like a bow tie sort of?
No. You know, so we have, I was thinking of a 40-meter double bazooka, and then a 20-meter double bazooka, and then maybe get down to 10 meters or 12 meter, and have them spaced out with PVC spacers, spaced apart. So instead of a fan dipole, will be a fan double bazooka. It'd be kind of an interesting setup, but I was thinking 40 and 20 to start off with.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
And then speeds on.
Got a little glitch here on Steve-O, but he's in paradise. You're okay. You froze up just a touch. There you go. I think you're back now.
Yeah, I see that. So
you're okay.
Yeah. So I was thinking I don't know. I was just thinking of, a fan double bazooka. We'll have to build one and then show it here on the show, and then I'll send it to you. You can try it out.
That'd be awesome. Oh, I'd love that. See that? The generosity of the man. Let's see. Paul, he's been hankering to get a new antenna. He lives in a condo, so it's difficult. We talked to him earlier today, talked about things with his situation. There's a TAC-tenna. Someone's thinking it sounds like something on the market, but if he's modeling his own homebrew, there you go. I've got that book right there, More Wire Antenna Classics. I thumbed through that. That's from the ARRL. I'll go through that from time to time. Butch, hopefully a 40-meter 3-element wire Yagi. That sounds lovely. 20-meter vertical dipole. Interesting. Homebrew hex beam.
Nice.
That's a project for you. That's a project.
There it is.
But you know what, Steve? They're not as hard. I mean, okay, there is some complication with them, but right there, what he's showing us is probably the hardest part. This connectivity between, your cabling, but the antenna structure itself. I mean, you're talking about some fiberglass, the wires. Once you get it in your head, once you have to repair it. Like I've had to do mine on a couple of occasions. You kind of can see. I get it now. I see. Now that section where things start to cable gets a little tricky for me to understand. But if I have to pull it back down, I think that's one of those antennas that you can kind of get your head around that one. If you're sort of like me, less than 10 years in the game, you can kind of see, it
starts to make sense.
It starts to make sense. And hex beam, that's ambitious, but I'd love to see it. I think that would be really cool. So
good for you, Gerald, for homebrewing it. That's awesome.
Look at this. He's actually got some pictures of it up here. And
look at that.
Let me see if I can get it bigger here. Okay. There's there it is.
What's in those ice chests?
Yeah, what you doing? You guys staying cool. Staying cool. The Conquest, it looks like it's a portable setup.
Yeah, it's
all antennas to me are
look
temporary.
At that. They got the smoker, the ice chest. He's set.
Yeah, he is.
Way to go, Gerald. Look at that.
Good on you, man. There it is. There's that centerpiece. And once you kind of figure out how all those wires come together and connect at that point, man, I think you're good. I think you're in good shape. All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. If you're interested in reading more about that, it is at the 100 Watts in a Wire Facebook group. And not to keep Steve too long here, I mean, he's very generous with his time on his vacation in paradise. Most importantly, I don't want your wife to be pushing those pins in the little Christian Cabbage Patch bald Beanie Baby dolls, and get you. And I'm like, oh, damn, Steve, do what she says. Stop it, man. Let's see here. We got some questions. You want to try a couple interesting
let's
things?
go for it.
Let's take a look at our questions. First one for today for Steve. Best beginning solder tip when making antennas. And I think it's probably not the actual tip of the soldering iron, but your tip for soldering in general.
You have you want to have something sizable. Oh, did I lose it again?
No,
Just
just start over. You're okay.
So, you just want to use, if you're soldering some like 14 gauge wire, you want to use at least a 75 watt or greater soldering iron if you have access. A soldering gun, one of those solder guns is great because they're about 100, 140 watt. Temperature up fairly quick, and then and a fair amount or you can find some of these little butane soldering torches, torches that will help also. So the little pencil thin, small 35 watt irons are not going to work. You need a fair amount of heat, and that wire is going to dissipate that heat. So that's why you need, hopefully 75 watts or greater you'll make a quick connection there. And then I usually just put some heat shrink over it just to kind of cover up the solder connection. But also remember, if you're using stranded wire, try to keep that as small as practical, because that piece becomes now solid. So it will have a tendency, if it's going to break anywhere in your wire antenna, will be at that solder connection. So just kind of think it through, and you'll be just fine. And try to do the Western Union splice if you can. So you can look that up. Just look up Western Union splice, and that will give you some additional support, and then you can just solder. When you see the splice, you'll just make 2 solder points, and then you're good to go, and still have some flexibility.
Okay. Now, I don't know. We get questions from time to time. They run the gamut. This really is the intersection of life and amateur radio. You get all kinds of questions. I thought this was interesting. I don't know what sort of value it will bring. It's almost a yes or no. But maybe people in the group may find some interest in it, and they can comment below. Check this out. Were you ever interested in metal detectors? Now, I can tell you.
Me personally, no. No,
yeah, I never had one.
I've never done it, but I mean, there's kind of the concept is cool, and to find things, but no, I haven't delved into that realm yet.
And it's funny, we say yet. We say yet, and I guess it's still going on. And the first thing I thought was, wow, I remember being a kid in the 70s, and these men were walking all over the place. You'd see them at the beach. You'd see them at wherever they were going, and they're looking for things that people drop. It wasn't like they were looking for the gold, whatever. I guess you could find that with a metal detector, but I would see it a lot when I would go to the beach, like where you are, in the evening time. Exactly, my mind went to this, and I was like, does this still even exist? I don't even know. But these guys, they'd have their headsets on, and they'd be walking around hoping to find whatever you dropped, your ring, your money, whatever kinds of coins. But I think my interest was, what is that? But I never did own one of those things. They seemed to be like a pricey investment, certainly for a kid back then. Is that
growing
a
up
thing?
in Southern California as a kid, I remember seeing a lot of guys, like you said, going up and down the beach and metal detecting. And those were just the the early metal detectors. And now they're just leaps and bounds in technology, and so it's kind of cool. I could see on the East Coast over there in the some of the Civil War battlefields that people are going out there and trying to find artifacts, whether it's a bullet or of sort, or any piece of metal that from a Civil War battlefield, and maybe even going back to our country's beginning in the Revolutionary War. So I would imagine there's a huge metal detecting group, just like we have here in the amateur radio hobby, and there's probably a lot of cross-pollination between us and metal detectors.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. Like, now I am kind of interested in it. When you think about the Revolutionary, here we are in July, and you're thinking about the Revolutionary War and all that went with that. That is actually very cool, and I bet you the technology will allow you to go deeper than just the surface of the sand or wherever you may be. So it is interesting to receive these questions, and I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird question, but we are more than amateur radio operators, and we have these different interests, and you see a lot of guys into the drones, people home brew their beer, they do all these other things, but we're still, amateur radio operators. So interesting question. I figured I would put that out there to Steve to see what he had to say, and you've actually made it more sexy to me now that you've mentioned what you might find than what I was remembering those uses for. All right, here's a question, and this is a philosophical question, and I did think about it with a man on vacation and this far away from everything to ask this sort of question, but it's a heavier one and maybe a topic we bring up on the show. But here it is. Has ham radio been compromised? And you almost have to have this person here to have that, to dig a little bit deeper there.
Yeah.
To what aspect are you talking about specifically? But
and I'm just going to take a stab at it, and there's a lot of people that have a disdain for people that have come from the CB world, and I could see where they would say that the hobby has been compromised by operators from 11 meters. And I think that's ignorant. I think that's just, shallow thinking. And just because the person started on 11 meters, who cares? It doesn't matter. I think it's bigotry in a form of bigotry, not radio bigotry. Let's put it that way. And I don't think the hobby has been compromised, maybe in some respect, but let's look at society. Our hobby is just kind of an offshoot of society in general. So if the hobby has been compromised, I think it's just because society has been compromised. Are we like we were 50 years ago on the air? No. Are people a little more, little trashier or vulgar or not as courteous these days? Yeah, but you know what? That's the way society is. But I still think we have a lot of great operators, a lot of great people in the hobby. Do we have a few bad apples? Yeah, but that's, anywhere and everywhere we have it. So, but I'd like to see the context of what this person is saying, what is compromised in the hobby. If it goes back to that CW is not required in the test, to them that's compromising the hobby. But I don't see it. The hobby evolves, everything evolves, and we just go along with it. And I just this one's hard to wrap my head around.
It is. I think we should have like a panel, like it should be a panel discussion type of thing in the and maybe we can do something like that. You know what, Steve? My mind went right to like the FCC and laws. You mentioned the code, and of course that's something a little bit bigger than just your normal deal. And I think there is a great deal of people on voice, mind you, talking about how the code was a thing, and now they don't have it, and they're still talking like we're talking on the phone side of the band, which is just ridiculous. But we talk about that all the time, and it's just nutty. But the law, maybe the laws, maybe have we been compromised? Have we been compromised by Wi-Fi and cellular? Like it's those kind of topics that I think we could probably get into and maybe bring a panel of
natural, man-made noise. Our bands have gotten noisier because of all the all the electronics that have been, introduced over the years that has compromised our bands, where it's especially for folks living in an urban area. It's not unheard of to have S9 noise on 40 meters, and it just makes it tougher for them to operate. The other thing could be the lack of enforcement, because the FCC doesn't have the manpower. We're compromised on that. I mean, there's so many angles we can say has the hobby been compromised, and I'd like to hear a little more context on the question and what they're thinking, but
Right.
I think
Specifics.
we're good. We're fine.
Yeah, I think we're all right. Well, that was interesting. Thanks for sending that question in, and we'd have to have you with us and give us a little bit more context. But Steve and I took a stab at it in perhaps these angles that may have been compromised. But I think your societal thing is great, too. That's an interesting point. Everything changes. You and I don't wake up and wear suits and cool fedoras to work or even just on a Sunday morning to go get the paper. Those things have changed, and I kind of wish I would. But I don't want to get dressed up on a Sunday. But men used to dress, and they'd be proper, and they'd be on their way on a Saturday afternoon.
This is not Leave It to Beaver anymore.
No, everything's changed. But interesting question. Thanks for sending that. And if you have questions, you want to put them in the chat, you can do that. You can send them through the Discord, which is brand new to us. We're just behind the time, I guess, a little slightly in that regard. But I tell you, it was because of Zuckerberg. I don't know where I am on this guy anymore, and I'm like, what's going to happen? I think we're going to have to slowly migrate away from Facebook. Has been so good as a community for us, but I think maybe we need to diversify a little bit just in case Zucky loses his mind, which is possible. But okay, I think we have it. But if you have questions, you can send them to me or to Steve, and we'll get them in the queue. No problem. Brother, thank you so much for getting up. I know if you're still on your West Coast time, that's probably what you were doing anyway, but you had the option to sleep, so I appreciate you coming by. Are you going to take any surfing lessons or anything that you wouldn't normally do out there?
No, I like to go snorkeling and just enjoy swimming around in the water and floating. And there's a group of goatfish that kind of hang out not too far from here, and usually I'll just kind of go float around with them and watch them do their things, and they kind of surround you, and that's kind of cool. And then we have the occasional sea turtle that floats around and kind of comes around, so it's kind of fun to swim a little bit with them, keeping a respectful distance because they are a protected species. And then we have on this trip we've had a couple of monk seals that have been kind of coming up on shore and taking a nap. So
I saw the picture there. Yeah, it was cool.
Yep. So yeah, that was the second one I came across yesterday. So
tell me how it compares. You like a good piece of fish. I know that for sure. You'll go to the market from where you are, and you'll go find a good piece of fish. How does it compare to home? Your fish there, like what would you do today, for instance, that maybe you might not do at home, food wise?
I've been eating the ono. That's something that I get here. We don't have it at back home, so we get a lot of salmon and pretty much the local fish, and then some cod in Eberg. But here we got the ahi, and we got the ono and calamari. There's just a bigger variety of fish here to try out, and I've been eating a lot of fish tacos.
Last question. Any celebrity spottings? You know that's a great place to have real estate when you got the money to do it. Anybody from Dwayne Johnson, Neil Young, any of these people walking around?
Well, we have Mick Fleetwood's restaurant, which is down the road from here, called Fleetwood's, and
cool.
So his restaurant is quite busy. And normally they have he will play live music, but because of the COVID restrictions, they're not doing any live music. Basically, if you're indoors, you have to wear a mask. So every time I leave the room here and to go downstairs, going through the building, we got to mask up, but outside we don't have to wear a mask. So the masking requirements here in Hawaii is a little more stringent than it is elsewhere on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
But and the restaurants are, they're up to about 75% capacity. They still got to maintain some spacing and things like that. So it's you got to have a lot of patience. There's a lot of people here, and just come with the aloha spirit if you're coming to the islands, and just check your attitudes back in the mainland, and just go with the flow.
You're on island time. Come on, everybody.
You get on island time. So
I dig that. Yeah, we don't. New York was similar. How you had to deal with the restrictions and mask wearing. Totally get it, because I'm in Missouri. Not to start on a rant, but Missouri's in trouble. I posted a link on the Discord in this sort of emergency news. And we're falling behind. We're going the wrong way here in this particular state. Interesting article I posted. We'll save that rant for another day. But I'll say 73, my friend. Eat the ono. Eat a lot of the ono. And according to you had a lot of pie last night. So
yeah, the hula pie. Oh my God.
What's in that?
It's a lot of ice cream.
Oh yeah.
This thing was about. Let me get my hands up. It was tall.
It was taller than the frame huge. He's in, you guys.
It was huge.
I love
between
it.
The wife and I, and we didn't even finish it, but it was just, as you see in on Discord, I passed out on the beach.
Yeah, go over there. I'll put that in the chat here again. If you're watching, if you're into emergency communications or just an alternative place to be, something new, a little bit smaller and intimate group there, you're welcome. Everybody, of course, is welcome in our community. 73 to you, Steve. Have a blast. Best to your wife there. Safe travels, and we'll catch you over. We're following your vacation over on our Discord. So 73 to you, sir.
7-3, everyone.
All right, and you guys take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. If something doesn't taste quite right, put a little Old Bay on it. And by all means,
or some hot sauce.
Something, yeah, just get that. But Old Bay would do you good. And if you can, please try and stay above the noise. 73, everybody.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.